want to describe yesterday as Ghana's day of shame in its parliament. Clearly, what he saw is something that is preventable. We were protesting the majority leader for making a statement because all that had transpired had been orchestrated by him as the leader of the House, and he cannot tell us that he didn't know about our concerns. Clearly, the majority proved to us that that one seat, Kpandai seat, was so important to them than the total government business. For us, as a minority, we don't have too many people. So we felt the one seat that we have seen an orchestration to take away from us illegally must be protected. That was all we have to protect. The government also had its business to protect. And so it could have been prevented. It was so preventable. I mean, we just wanted a commitment that the letter that had been written to declare the Kpandai seat vacant is withdrawn. Because that letter was seen in the social media. It had not been read in Parliament. We didn't know about it. But clearly, it is a letter that had emanated from the Parliamentary Service. And so we felt this is so bad. It was an affront to our democracy. It was against rule of law. If we're looking at due process, which is part of democracy, clearly members of the government side were not ready to stick to it. And so we will fight for it.
Now, explain to us the problem with the letter, because if you read the Constitution, the clerk had the constitutional mandate to write such a letter if he receives a court order that informs him that the particular election had been declared null and void. And he said he has received that particular court order from the Tamale court. So what was the problem with the letter?
Not when the clerk had also received our stay of education, had received a notice for us to challenge the ruling of the court. So if you have received these ones before you write in the letter, would you just want to go by the constitutional mandate and refuse to admit the fact that we're protesting what the basis is for you to write a letter? Are you more interested in just writing the letter and declaring that seat vacant, much more than allowing us to follow the due process?
Did he breach a procedure or a law, a procedure of Parliament, or when he did that?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was asking whether he was in breach of any procedure of Parliament with the letter he wrote.
Not necessarily Parliament, but we had intimated, we had made a point that clearly the member had filed a notice of appeal. The member had filed a notice of stay of execution. That had been duly served on Parliament. And so, I mean, as an institution that is supposed to be a respecter of laws, and we want to work with rule of law, we thought that the clerk would give cognizance of these notices. But if you have these notices and you still decide to put them aside and still go ahead and say constitutionally, it is your mandate to write to declare that seat vacant. I mean, you really see that maybe the clerk just want to be part of the political orchestrations.
And that's why I'm asking, because Parliament operates based on procedure and rules. Whether he breached any of those, did he?
If we didn't have any notice, then you could close your eyes to all the nuances in town. What the Parliament says, especially that position of Ghana. But what you have been said,
Hello, Honorable. We are losing you. Are you on the move?
So I'm still, I'm stationary.
Okay. It's better now. Please,
You know,
you have to go over for us, please.
no, I was saying that if he didn't have any notice of this court proceeding, then we could agree with him that he was sticking to the parliamentary rules. But as far as he has been served with all these court notices, there was no point in hastening and writing to declare the seat vacant. Let's look at the commonsensical approach of this one. I have gone to court to seek a redress. The declaration of the seat as vacant has a bearing on the kind of redress I'm seeking from the court. You don't think without something prejudicial, it becomes easier for the court to decide that the application is moot? Because clearly, one would want to look at it from the point that what is in contention has been declared.
But
so the concern is, why the haste? What is there? Why are we in a hurry?
But the court has always insisted that they also have the power to overturn anything that is done by any other arm of parliament, the arm of state, including parliament.
Okay, so within the period when the speaker ruled that the Honorable Nyindam could remain in parliament, as far as the 7 days period is concerned, from the day he was refused to contribute to the debate on budget, you are denying the people of Kpandai a representation, because he is the one representing them. From when the seat had been declared vacant till when perhaps the court decides that we have overturned that decision, you were going to deny the people of Kpandai a representation. Further to that, why would Parliament hasten to declare this seat vacant and wait for the court to overturn that decision? All because you are meeting a constitutional need? Meanwhile, there are processes served on you that you could use to defend yourself, that I haven't declared the seat as vacant because there are court processes that have been served on me. On the 16th, just in a few days, there's going to be a hearing of these notices. Why the haste?
So then what was the crime of the majority leader then? Because the majority leader clearly does not control the clerk and is not in the parliamentary service. It's headed by the speaker. So what was his crime?
This whole thing started with the majority side, with Honorable Dasomafor leading the charge. So we think that the majority leader, being the leader of the House, and is supposed to carry the House along, knowing that we have cooperated and we have been with the majority to prosecute government personnel, should have known better. And should have known that for us to continue respecting him as the leader of the House, who is going to carry us, it becomes easier that we work together.
So it was disappointment that you were expressing in him?
Yes, because we felt that he was overly becoming partisan. Because once you assume the position of a majority leader, there are issues you want to carry the whole House together. It is not always business as usual. That position is a very weighty position. very heavy position, that warrants that you take your decision so seriously.
But he also has a side, leads the business of that side. If that is the opinion that side holds, and he expresses that, he didn't write the letter. It was a clerk that wrote the letter. Should he not at least be heard on the matter you had raised?
You see, we know certain things that we do not want to put out here in public. Clearly, it's not everything that we can put out. But we want to emphasize the point that the kind of treatment that they are giving to Matthew Nyindam, the MP for Kpandai, is such that it could happen to anybody. And so, as colleagues, as members of parliament, we want to stick to rule of law and protect ourselves.
Well,
because you are in charge of government business. You, the majority leader, your interest is prosecuting government business. And if you want us to believe that you're more interested in that one seat to be added to your overwhelming majority, much more than government business, then, I mean, it means that you don't need our cooperation.
But he also indicates that he actually tried to address this matter even before the session of the House started that morning.
And what was that effort?
There was a meeting that was called that was supposed to try to address this issue.
How did that effort, related to our parliamentary proceedings? All we were looking for was for a withdrawal of that letter. It was the clerk that wrote the letter. The letter had actually gone to the Electoral Commission. It's not been announced in Parliament. It was through the social media that some of us got to know of it. So it was just a matter of just withdrawing the letter and say that upon further consideration, the Clerk of Parliament has written to withdraw that letter, waiting for the court processes. That's it. Then we will know that this is a majority leader who is carrying the whole house.
And you did all. Did you achieve your aim? Because we watched as they went through the estimates and approved them whilst you were still protesting.
Are you happy with the way these estimates were approved?
But you were there.
No, are you happy with the way they were approved?
It wasn't like as if you had walked out. You were there.
Yes,
you could have been part of that process.
We were not going to work out. At least we have made the whole world to know what kind of government we have.
And what kind of government is that?
A tyranny government. A government of tyranny.
You think this government is tyrannical?
Of course. Of course.
And that's because the clerk wrote that letter.
It is not just about that. We have looked at a lot of factors. We've looked at a lot of issues. You do not want me to go on all of them. You know them. Control of the judiciary and all of that.
But, Honorable, if you do have a case, a strong case that can be defended in court, why are you worried? Of course, you're going to the Supreme Court on the 16th. Even if that letter was written, it will not be 30 days when the Supreme Court will hear your case. So why are you worried about what steps anybody takes?
We are looking at the precedent. This one passes, and then it becomes easier, it becomes acceptable. Parliament is an institution, but we are all bound by the rule of law. You don't think what has happened is an affront to our judiciary? The courts are yet to pronounce judgment on the case, and Parliament decides that I will take a decision on that.
But does the rule of separation of powers not apply here? And that was why I was asking whether the clerk breached any law, any rule, any procedure of Parliament.
When you talk about the separation of powers, then you want to look at the checks and balances. Parliament has its powers, but we get checked. The executive has its powers, but they get checked. Judiciary has its powers, they get checked. So if we run to the judiciary to determine a case, and that case has not been heard, and Parliament decides that I'll go ahead and take a decision, that could be prejudicial to what we are looking for. Let's all look at these things dispassionately. Let's look at it with an eye that we want to grow Ghana. Like I said, also necessary. It was something that could have been prevented. And for some reason, this government doesn't care anymore about the kind of image that it's actually displaying.
And I wonder what you were trying to achieve by moving from your side and walking towards the side of the majority.
We just needed an attention. We needed an attention. We have banked tables, but the speaker decided that he wasn't going to mind us. So whatever we're ready to do to gain his attention, we're ready to do it.
So it was an act of desperation?
Everybody in our state will be that desperate.
But you also didn't listen to the speaker, did you? Because
We listened to the speaker.
The speaker had asked that he wanted to hear from the leader. You refuse to allow the leader to talk. If you don't listen to the speaker, why do you expect the speaker to listen to you?
We have issues with the leader. We have stated that. We've stated that. We didn't have issues with the total system. Otherwise, we're not going to listen to the speaker.
Because if the speaker listens, ultimately, whatever the leader says, it is for the speaker to make a decision. It was this decision, he made the initial decision that was, I think, was supposed to have lasted till December 1. We have gone way past December 1. And it was for you to listen to what he would decide next after listening to everybody. Did you not miss that opportunity?
Maybe you listened to the majority leader. Maybe you were fortunate to have listened to him. I obviously couldn't listen to anything he said. So I don't know what he said. But later when he had the opportunity, he was claiming that he made his case. He made his case even better than we would have even made it. He made our case better than in such flow of arrogance. You think we don't know what we are looking for? You understand? And it's all about their numbers. But you see, power is transient. Power is transient. So when we start developing such attitude towards our democracy, we are breaking it down. Instead of growing the democracy that we have nurtured over the years. And if this is the way that NDC wants to go, they would never stay in power forever. No. So at the time we have the opportunity to have the kind of power they have, what do you expect us to do? And it is the reason sometimes we get disappointed with the media, who do not see the issues we see.
I see. Very interesting. But you're saying, did you achieve your aim? And I'm wondering, because there are many ways through which you could have approached this. You could have approached this by listening to every side. The modus operandi you choose, on second thought, was it the best way, knowing the numbers you had as against theirs?
Well, at any point in time when motions are moved on the estimates, we second it, we support it, we bring ideas on board, they are captured in the hazard, It's an opportunity for the government to tap into our wisdom too. I mean, the state government was denied of all that opportunity. We thought that for a day, when we had asked for an adjournment, the speaker would have obliged. But you see, it was just a matter of showing us that you don't determine what happens. So, for all that happens procedurally, we missed it. Anybody who watched Parliament yesterday will come to a conclusion that the kind of democracy that we're supposed to go into is not what we're experiencing under the NDC. During our time, we had 137, 137. You could expect these ones. But when you have absolute majority, and we have cooperated all along, why would you want to use such brutish force on parliamentary procedure?
Before you had 137, you had 169.
Yes.
And we also saw the NDC, who are in power currently, on many occasions raise issues with the manner in which Parliament was being handled. These issues, for most of us in the media, are not new issues.
It didn't get to a point that there will be physical officer in Parliament.
But that is because of the choice of strategy, is it not?
No, that was the choice of strategy on the side of the majority. We were that accommodating.
You were accommodating?
Yeah, we
when
were.
It has 169?
Yes. It was a reason. The minority didn't find any cause to go this route. When they moved to 137, they started displaying because they had some level of power. It was the power of numbers. And I'm sure Ghanaians didn't think about it, and Ghanaians decided to give them just overwhelming numbers.
So you are still sure that this was the best strategy for you?
That was the best.
That was the best.
That was the best.
Even though it did not have the numbers, and you knew it was bound to fail.
Well, we haven't seen ourselves as failures. We don't see ourselves as failures.
You don't?
We don't.
What have you achieved?
We have achieved exposing government as being insensitive. We have achieved in making everybody know this government as a government that does not really care. All it cares about is its numbers and will bully its way, whatever. Ghanaians are watching.
Well, thank you. Thank you for speaking to us.
You're welcome, my brother.
Yeah. There's Honorable Alexander Acquah, who is Member of Parliament for Oda constituency, joining us on the line. He said they have achieved their aim. Well, we'll speak to a few more people on this particular issue because there are